Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Moderately Educated News Network, otherwise known as MEN. I'm here, joined by my lovely co-host, Stefan Jones. And today we'll be discussing the killing of United Healthcare CEO. Let me check his name, Brian Thompson, and his alleged killer, Luigi Mangione. All right. Don't forget to drop a like, comment your thoughts, let us know what you agree with, disagree with, and then share, subscribe. Send this video to friends, family, whoever you feel, needs to see it. And but without further ado, let's get right into it. So Luigi was recently arrested in Pennsylvania after a McDonald's worker calls in a tip to local authorities saying, "Hey, I think seen this guy on the news. He might have killed somebody." And at that McDonald's, he is later arrested, where they find a gun, a suppressor, I believe, on his person, multiple fake IDs, and things of that nature. So he's currently in custody with charges pending, or actually charges that have been assigned in Pennsylvania. And related to the killing in New York, in Manhattan, they have officially charged him with second degree murder, as well as weapon and forgery charges that are. But at some point, there has to be extradition to Manhattan. He is still currently, to the best of my knowledge, being held in Pennsylvania. So let's see a little bit about Luigi. He comes from a well-off family, valedictorian, Ivy League grad, and actually has the same degrees that I do. One in computer science and a master's of computer science, specifically AI and machine learning. It looks like there have been some hypotheses about a ghost gun, some manufactured parts, some theorizations there about why the shooting transpired, and then other various things regarding his background with health concerns. And yeah, yeah, that's the gist of the situation, the little rundown. Stefan, I'll let you chime in, give your thoughts, and if I missed anything.
For sure. You didn't miss anything really. I mean, other than the fact that he had like a spine issue allegedly, or something of that nature. But other than that, uh, everything sounds pretty on point. It came from a well-to-do family. Is very smart, very calculated. Apparently, brother's playing chess, not checkers. Now, in the words of my brother sent me this text, and I want to share it with you guys because I think it's very, you know, something you really got to think about. My brother said he didn't think he did this alone. My brother said Luigi. He said, "Where's Mario?" He said they pulled up on him and said, "Let's go." Yeah, no, all jokes aside, guys. Um, this guy seemed to be very calculated, very intelligent. So it definitely is possible that he is the culprit. I definitely look forward to seeing what happens in evidence. I think evidence actually just came out that tied the ballistics in his gun to the actual, the casings in the shooting. So, yeah, it's not looking good for Mr. Mangione. Yeah, to be so bold as to do that in broad daylight, absolutely insane. Just a little bit unhinged, but I mean, I guess bro needed care and wasn't able to get it. He must have had a claim get denied. I'm not sure about the details on that or the ops on that, but yeah, I don't even know what to say. It seemed very planned out. And then there's, like X said, a lot of conspiracies going on. There's a different guy at Starbucks, the camera, he looked different. There's another guy in the taxi. So it's a lot of conspiracy theories going on, but this very well might be our killer.
There you go. So as to a potential motive, I haven't heard anything that he was like a subsidiary or a client of United Healthcare. Not too sure about that. But it does seem that from social media investigation um, on his page, as well as like some of the accounts that he follows and his active postings, it does seem that he has a serious spinal injury where he had surgery. Um, Allegedly, there were screws placed in his spine, and it looks somewhat severe. I'm not an expert or a medical professional, so I cannot speak to the the efficacy or how well those screws were put into place, but it looks like a pretty rough surgery to go through. Any back surgeries are usually pretty tough. But that was on his X profile, and he constantly complained from testimony from roommates and other people in his life. He constantly complained of severe pain. It was debilitating in his daily life. And it is purported that these health issues coming from the back surgery led to social isolation because he couldn't get out of the house, do anything, and he just continued to further and further isolate himself from his friends and his family. And funny enough, his mother seemed to have filed a missing persons report because she hadn't heard from him in months. So it seemed like during this stint of isolation, he became particularly active in rebellious communities online, things that maybe added fuel to the fire. And in this echo chamber that he created due to his isolation, it's likely that these things played a role, such as the reading of the Unabomber Manifesto, which he left a review to, and other like there's a philosopher, I do not know how to say his name, Krishnamafruti or butchered the hell out of that. But that being said, he liked the quote and responded to it, I believe, that it is not a measure of health to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick society. And then he additionally, on top of consuming all this media, seemed to have taken again, like me, in the steps of me. I think me and the guy might be related or some shit. We got a lot in common here. We got the same degrees, and we're both working on manifestos. So I don't know, maybe I might be next. But he wrote a manifesto where he states that he's sorry for any actions that, whatever repercussions these actions take, but it's something that must be done, was a quote that was found in his manifesto. So it seems that, yeah, he consumed a lot of extremist propaganda and had an anti-American or anti-establishment sentiment when it came to various industries, such as the healthcare industry, which likely inspired his actions. So,
And
go
oh, I was
ahead.
gonna say
Go ahead.
social media, the social repercussions of this are very interesting to see because you see a lot of social media defense of Mr. Mangione. I don't see a lot of people saying, yeah, he needs to be arrested in prison, but like a lot of people are really coming to this man's defense, saying it was somebody else, saying that it was deserved, the CEO needed to go, blah blah blah. So there's definitely a lot of people, surprising amount of people that I would say sided with him, and some people, whether joking or not, like Chipotle just raised prices. People asking who's the CEO, and like people making jokes about this stuff. But I mean, all it takes is one person to be dead serious and feel like the American people are getting screwed over, just like Mangione, and then they'll go do something extreme and calculated. So, definitely a big defense of him online for sure.
How do you feel about that defense? Do you feel like that's appropriate? Do you feel like we shouldn't be condoning this, or do you see that like, they're just jokes and should probably be allowed to
There's
exist?
a mix.
Okay.
There's a mix. I do believe in freedom of speech, even online. I believe people should be able to feel how they want to feel, but I do think it kind of speaks to, just like in his case, right? I think it speaks to a larger mental health crisis. That's in America that needs to actually, we need to stop. We need to look at it. There's more people on medication than ever, more people depressed and isolated, like Mr. Mangione. So it's definitely something that needs to be taken a look at because while some people are joking, others are not. And at the end of the day, um, just like Mangione's hopping on different forums, different social media posts, and expressing his feelings, like some of that stuff could be taken as a joke, and some of it could be like dead serious, and you never know who's on what line. So,
Yeah,
and then lines get crossed. So,
definitely. Definitely. Um, as it pertains to my own feelings towards I guess the response online, I think that they're like pretty disgusting. I think that running to the defense of a killer, even if you disagree with the insurance system, healthcare system, whatever the hell that you want to call it, um, is like reprehensible at best. I think that we see an increase in like anti-American sentiment from our like own citizens and our own people. These beliefs that like the government is bad. There's these great big shadow entities that controlling our lives, and that like in mass the system is rigged against us. Um, that while there may be outcomes and things that like are indicative of that, I'm not saying that these things don't exist. I'm not saying that people don't fall through the cracks, but in mass, this like large conspiratorial thinking, this idea that the American system is beyond flawed, past repair, and just America bad. Not only is it like divisive and dividing, it's not productive. You don't solve any real issues by saying things just suck. And because if there is a secret shadow cabal controlling insurance, healthcare, and the government, killing people isn't going to fix it. Then on top of that, voting for legislation, voting in representatives that you think that are crooked anyway, there's no point in participating in the American system. And shortly after that, I mean, it is a bit of a slippery slope where democracy falls soon after. I really dislike the idea that many people have nowadays, it seems, that everything is just so awful. Truth be told, we live in a largely a relatively peaceful era of history. We live in my opinion, the greatest country on the face of this planet, and I think our sentiment should reflect that. I think that our rhetoric should reflect that. Are there things wrong with America? Yes. There are so many things we can fix. Um, but that being said, the way we're going about engaging in the discourse, the way that we're going about engaging with the content online is not productive. And I think we need to see a big shift. And the fact that we're so far removed that we're praising a killer, I gotta say, is a bit crazy. I didn't want Trump to win. At no point did I praise the shooter. It's just we've lost the plot at this point. So yeah.
Hold on, X. Hold on, X. You did make some jokes, but I gotta hold you accountable. You made some jokes. You said, "Dang, he missed." Yeah, that was you. That was you said that tag. That's crazy. Shit. You was like, "Dang,"
In
like,
a private
"Oh, he
conversation
missed."
between us?
Hmm?
In a private conversation between us?
Fair enough. Not on social media. Fair enough. Fair
Okay.
enough. Fair enough.
Yeah, massive difference. For one. For two, I'm largely un like, yeah, was the joke probably inappropriate? Yes. But I also have videos online where I take a hard stance against it, and I claim that that an outcome where Trump actually dies would is probably even more detrimental to the American system, more so than just the assassination attempt, period. So, yep,
Fair.
no, don't get me wrong. Jokes are
You're
jokes.
based on that.
Freedom of speech, do your thing. But nah, man. It's cool in conversations amongst friends. But to portray that to an audience, even though these videos make it to 16 people, it's not appropriate. So, as I say, any public, what is it? Any public man owes his position to the public. You have a responsibility and a duty when conveying your message to be clear, articulate it well, and have the facts. So, and be moral above all else.
And one thing I would say, as far as America just being a great place, and once again, it goes back to mental health, man. A lot of people are just truly unhinged, need help. People are more isolated than ever because of social media. Social media is supposed to connect us more, but it really led to more people being isolated, more people just caring about clicks and likes, and but you're not really getting as much real human interaction. Then COVID compounded that with everybody having to be at home, staying inside. There's a whole generation of kids who are used to iPads and phones as their way to communicate, and it's just generally not healthy. Um, but yeah, America is the best country. I agree with you on that. It's literally the only place where the people who complain about it refuse to leave. And that really, at the end of the day, says it all. Because if it was that bad, you'd really be trying to leave. And ain't none of y'all really trying to leave like that. Y'all really don't want to see what it's like out here in the rest of the world. So, yeah, that's my take on that.
For sure, for sure. I did want to take a second, kind of changing the focus where we skip right. I didn't expect it to just show up for a frame, but to talk a little bit about like the shooting itself. It was thought of that there was a ghost gun or 3D printed gun that was used. Now, I'm not a firearm expert. I am a hobbyist though. This doesn't appear to be a at least it looks like there's a metal slide on it. Not to say that the frame and the trigger guard and all that couldn't have been like 3D fabricated and that it wasn't like it's untraceable. I feel like this may start a bit of a discourse around like our Second Amendment rights. I believe that there was a suppressor used, which may have also been 3D printed due to like the length of this barrel in the video. Unfortunately, it doesn't like this video shows it, but you can actually see the shooter, Luigi, fumble around with his gun in a way that indicates that either the homemade suppressor was faulty, and did not encourage the gun to cycle properly, where you see him constantly performing like clearing or racking the slide or doing something. He's fiddling around a lot with the weapon that may indicate that he has some aftermarket or home manufactured parts, which I think is likely the case. So I expect some discourse around the Second Amendment rights to arise from this tragedy. Do you have any thoughts on that? Do you or you have any awareness or opinions on the concept of ghost guns, suppressors, or overall Second Amendment activities?
Well, as far as ghost guns and suppressors, right? If somebody wants to do harm to somebody else, they will find a tool to do it. I don't necessarily think being more stringent on the Second Amendment for your average everyday citizen is going to really stop criminals from getting firearms. I don't. They're criminals. They break the law. That's kind of the whole point. Um, that being said, I do think even in a society where you try to remove guns, right? Like let's look at London. Their knife killings are like ridiculously high. So if somebody wants to kill somebody, they will find a way to kill somebody, and that's just kind of what it is. At the end of the day, there will always be crime. There will always be violent crime, no matter whether you remove guns or not. And then removing guns kind of defeats the purpose of the Second Amendment. If the government ever did try to assume power, people would have no ability to fight back. And yeah, I mean, people forget that that's the point of the Second Amendment is to protect yourself against a tyrannical government, also for self defense, obviously. And I do believe people should be entitled to self defense just because there's a few bad eggs. There could be like 0.0000001% out of 3.5 million people who are going to do, or 350 million people, my bad, that are going to do something bad with a gun. That doesn't mean the other freaking 349 million and then some should not be allowed to use guns or should have their rights restricted because a crazy person that's a criminal got a gun and you know
No,
like the burden of activity is that's crazy to pass that off to people.
nah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I'm a pretty pro Second Amendment guy. Myself, I don't think that like ghost guns, if it was the case that he is using one, ghost guns still have to have the term ghost is somewhat misleading, because they still require metal components. So these aren't things that will make it past metal detectors through TSA because guess what? A gunshot is a explosion and you need some sort of solid material to capture that. So these things are not totally made out of plastic. They're not making it through metal detectors. They're not making it onto your planes, largely. So there's that. And there was a Vice News documentary released about ghost guns a couple years back, which I recommend you all go watch. Um, Best news outlet, in my opinion, but besides the fact. But
Who? Wait, from who?
Vice News. Um,
Vice? Or,
yeah, they that documentary shows a lot of people that recreationally make their own ghost guns and don't use them for any nefarious purposes, but they suck. They suck like bad. They took him to the range and like 50% of the competition that was there got DQ'd because their guns wouldn't fire. Like it was laughable. Not to say that manufacturing can improve, but at some point, yeah, the hype behind ghost guns it is not deserved. Is it a problem? Does it need to be like regulated to some degree? Yeah, probably. But I think a lot of the scrutiny and hype behind ghost guns is like largely misunderstood. Um, but yeah, man, I think we covered about everything. I'll add this. There have been cases of United Healthcare. I don't know if you're aware of any off the top of your head or did any research on them, but Healthcare has some suits filed against it because of like malpractice and denying people coverage that should have been covered. Um, Luigi was likely one of them, and so because of that, likely inspired these actions. Do you think that? I don't know. Do you think that there needs to be reform in the insurance industry? And if so, what would you change about it?
There needs to be reform in all insurance industries, dude. Like, you're paying however much money a month, and you could pay for years before you actually need the care, like for something significant. And let's say you've been paying into it for like freaking 20 years and you have something that's truly wrong with you now and you want to get care. And they're like, nah, we're denying that. Like, insurance at this point doesn't seem like it's there to actually help people, but you are required to have it for a plethora of reasons. Because if you're paying out of pocket, then you're looking at freaking hundreds of thousands of dollars for something that insurance should cover that would make it significantly more affordable for the average everyday American. People are already struggling with their pockets as it is. These companies are literally ganking people. They get so much money from people and want to deny claims when people genuinely need the help. Like, that is a problem. There needs to be reform in insurance industries in general, dude. There's no reason that I pay freaking $250 a month in car insurance, and like, let's say something happens and I try to file a claim, that claim could be denied, or they're going to try to push it off, or they're going to try to no file it through the other person's insurance. Like, bro, why do I have insurance if I am not covered and protected? The whole point of insurance is to ensure, in case anything happens bad, that I will be covered and protected. Where's the money going to if it's not going to be purposed for that?
So, I mean, is there any specifics that you would say like need to be changed? Do you think like more holistic, reasonable like review that they need to directly like when denying a case, they need to directly cite their policy? Like, what would you need to see change in the insurance industry to feel comfortable about like where money's going and reasons why claims are processed the way they are?
When citing a or when denying a claim, they need to cite at least three reasons as to why, and they need to be open to litigation if those reasons are not justifiable.
So, like, a good example of this was actually with United Healthcare. There's a case where a young man, a college age young man, was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis, and which is just a bowel inflammation and ulcers forming, and it causes various symptoms. No cure for it, only treatments. But because of this condition, he was racking up upwards of $2 million a year in medical expenses. He was flat, his account was flagged, and he finally found a treatment option that would work for him. And unfortunately, United Healthcare was like, not happening. Because I believe this is the moderately educated part. I believe it was an experimental treatment. It wasn't traditional in the sense, and most insurance doesn't cover experimental things. So in this case that I would like, in this example, do you think that insurance did anything wrong? Because this was his only option, but it's their stated policy that, hey, we don't cover like experimental stuff. We cover stuff that works. But it just so happens that in this particular case, the stuff that works wasn't working. What do you, as an insurance company, what do you do in that instance?
If that's part of their policy that they don't cover experimental medicine, then at the end of the day, that's something that would be in the terms and agreements of which a person would sign when they're agreeing to purchase the insurance. Therefore, they're not liable for that. That's direct, clear cut, common sense. That's an easily defensible position.
Is it though? I mean, you don't think that like they have some
As a
there's like
person, you are liable to read the terms and conditions of any contract you
yep,
sign. And
yep,
although most don't, if it specifically says that the insurance will not cover experimental uh treatments, right?
yep.
They cannot be held liable for it. That
Yep,
is part of
absolutely.
the
Yeah,
insurance.
no,
So
that's yeah, that makes sense. Absolutely. Wouldn't disagree with you there. I think my question more so centered around the fact, would you want to see change of that policy being drafted into contracts, period? Like in this case, what needs to change? Because if that's their policy, but it leads to detrimental outcomes for its clients, where does the reform occur in the insurance industry?
well,
What needs
is
to change?
that the policy for every insurance company or for United Healthcare specifically?
United Healthcare
Other
specifically, but
insurance
I feel
companies
like
that
I do think that it is a fairly common clause in healthcare. I mean, you can't go to doctors outside your own network. A lot of them won't cover.
you can if you get a plan that allows you to do so.
Yeah, oh yeah, or you end up paying like higher
I
copays,
would,
like whatever. But
yeah.
largely, I think that these insurance plan these insurance companies, it is I'm sure you can find some somewhere, but largely they don't cover experimental treatment. Um, so
And I mean, that's the risk of it being experimental, right? Because let's say they're like, oh, yeah, we'll cover this. And then said person dies from the experimental treatments. Then the family tries to sue United Healthcare for approving it. It's against your policy. Why'd you like? It's just a whole world of litigation that I could just see happening from that. Even though litigation's already occurring, I think United Healthcare would win said case because it's in their policy. But I think if they did approve coverage for that experimental treatment, I think that opens them up to more litigation that they do not want to see because they would actually lose that case.
yeah, 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 I think I don't know. I hear yeah, in your hypothetical, yeah, I think that is the case. Um, but and a reform that I would like to see was like, hey, if we deem something medically necessary and you find a solution that works for you, if you demonstrate that, if you know, there's some actual appeal process that you can go through that says, hey, this is the only solution. We've tried X, Y, and Z. Submit a note from your doctor, and this experimental thing works. It's probably like a valid reform that you could have to either like break policy or prevent insurance providers from implementing that clause at all. That's like a valid reform that you can see. And something small that probably affects like a minutia of the population, but it takes a step in the right direction of reforming insurance giants. Um,
I'm not even mad at that. I mean, like an appeals process would be something that'd be definitely justifiable, something good. I have no issue with that.
for sure, for sure. But that being said, I think now we've covered about everything there is. Do you have any final thoughts, closing statements? What's going on?
I mean, that's about it, guys. For me, you got anything?
Nah,
Now I'll close this out.
spoken my piece.
All right, guys. Well, let us know how you're feeling about Luigi saying "Let's go" and putting an end to Mr. Thompson. That being said, guys, let us know your thoughts, feelings, and beliefs down in the comments below. Let us know how you feel about insurance. If you think there should be an appeals process for experimental treatments and things of that nature, and then let us know if you think there's a mental health epidemic in the states. What's going on in social media with the defense of Mr. Mangione? And that being said, guys, we love you. We appreciate your viewership if you stayed this long. And that being said, we will catch you guys on the next one.
And if you support Magione, I hope your next insurance claim gets denied.